back to FanCorner, your favorite nerdy, unhinged podcast. Today we're very excited that Jelaire is back. Yay!
Yay! I've been away for way too long.
Way too long.
I'm happy to be back in the new studio.
Which is just in front of my bookcases.
But it's really cute.
I did paint them.
I know. I'm so glad you did. I love the blue.
I am going to paint like an ACOTAR scape along the side that you can see over here. Like that's the end goal.
Vision.
So, and maybe like I haven't decided because I'm like, this will either be like the best idea I've ever had or literally horrible. Little like stars on the whole thing.
I love it.
But then just the painted scene on it. So we'll see.
I love that.
Today's really exciting because we're getting back into like one of our Harry Potter series. We're starting a new one.
Yay.
We're going to be starting obscure characters. So basically these aren't our main trio. These aren't Dumbledore, whatever, etc. But today we're going to do Percy Weasley. Percy in the house. And we're really excited about this series. So if you have a specific side character you'd really like us to deep dive into, however little information there is on it, I don't care. I'll make stuff up.
We'll talk about our own headcanons.
Yeah.
We can deep dive as much as we want.
I know. We can read into it.
Yeah, we can.
Actually, in some ways, the more obscure, the better.
No, truly.
You know what I mean? We have to be more creative.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. But
so write in who you'd like to see, and we'll do them. Mm-hmm. So it'll be every other week doing these, and then Brian and I are gonna start recording reactions to Rings of Power.
Oh, for
so that'll be
the first season or second season?
Second season, because it starts tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's my high, is Rings of Power comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'm super stoked about it.
Okay.
I never say that I'm a Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah.
Because I feel like people get weird.
Yeah. We've talked about that before, because I just barely rewatched the entire trilogy with a friend that's never watched them before.
Wow.
Or read the books, which is rare in 2024.
Yeah, like you almost have to try to do that.
No, totally. And there's a whole group of us and, plenty of us that know, like, I'm not as more lore knowledgeable. I'm kind of like the average viewer in that way. But my brother was there and he's really knowledgeable, and some other people, some other girly pops that knew a lot of lore, whatever, and everyone was just so kind and supportive, and so it was nice to be in a non-gatekeepy Lord of the Rings scape.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those scapes where so easily people will sort of be like, well, if you don't know everything, you can't call yourself a fan.
No, totally.
And so I don't like it when people like, you know what I'm talking about, when they trivia check you?
Oh, yeah.
It drives me nuts. So I actually don't say I'm a fan usually out loud. I'm being better about it. That's why there'll be podcast episodes about it. No, I don't know as much as most people. Like, Harry Potter, if you cut me open, I'm pretty sure I bleed Harry Potter's hair to
Yeah.
Like, that's what's in my veins.
That's like what your brain decided to remember instead of like long division. You know what
yes. I mean? Absolutely. I can long division too, though. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just speaking generally.
No, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, okay, that's exciting. Did you enjoy season 1 then?
I did. I really enjoyed season 1 because don't come at me, people. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't watched it?
No, because like I know. Here's the thing. I'm not opposed to watching it.
Sure.
I just don't have Amazon Prime.
Log into mine.
Okay. I don't have Amazon Prime, but also I suck at watching things.
Also, it's Brian's, so it's like really funny. I'm just like offering it.
And I think I definitely would have to keep myself in the headspace that it's not a canonical thing, if that makes sense. Like it I know it draws from some canon, but I know it's not like explicitly lore accurate from what I've been told.
Okay, so and this is what our series is going to be. It's going to be two fans that are just casual fans. Like, I'm not a casual fan of anything. I am a casual fan of Lord of the Rings. That's probably the only thing I'm a casual fan of.
Yeah.
I thought it was really fun.
No, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I've heard it's like fun if you kind of, suspend.
I think people need to get the hell over it. Like, I've tried reading Tolkien. I have not read all three. I loved The Hobbit, but then the actual Lord of the Rings books are dense and horrible. I don't care what you say. Like, come at me, bro. I don't care. Like, they're horrible. And so I just think, like, he gets too into the nuance. It's giving Sanderson. Like, we don't need that.
I felt like it was giving more like Victor Hugo.
Okay, sure. But he's like way later in time period, Victor Hugo. So
well,
it's
I know,
more
but
embarrassing
more like
for him.
Elaborating a ton on things that don't necessarily matter to
Sure.
the central plot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to the plot. It's not even usually interesting. I love lore, and I'm often like, bro, what are we doing here? You know? So I think my beef with, so people are just getting too into it.
Yeah.
Let it go.
That's
man.
fair.
Galadriel is a real character.
Oh, yeah.
And so to watch her come into her own, who's supposed to be the strongest.
She's like the strongest elf.
Yeah,
like
she's the strongest elf of all time.
Yeah.
Like, is what my understanding is from original lore.
Yeah.
And so to watch that happening, especially in a franchise like Lord of the Rings, which doesn't have a lot of women in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, a horrible women representation.
Yeah.
Another reason why I don't, like, talk about it as forward-focused, but, like, to have her just front and center, and that's really cool. We don't see that a lot in fantasy.
Totally.
And, I mean, we all want to, right? But at least on screen,
Yeah.
like, we have the actual books where female characters are just slaying right now. But, like, in terms of adapted TV, we just don't have female fantasy leads. Like, true leads, not side leads.
No.
Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think you would love it.
Yeah.
People will be wild. So I'm
People
going to
be wild about everything.
They do be wild about it. That's the story.
That's the tea.
That's the tea.
Okay, cool.
So that's my high. What is your high, Jelaire?
Ooh, my high. I went to Steamy LitCon, and that's why I was gone for, well, one of the reasons I was gone for a hot minute.
You were vibing.
I was vibing. I moved, I vibed, got sick, all
Went through it.
Well, I went through the ringer. But yeah, so I went to Steamy LitCon at the beginning of August, and that was in Anaheim. And it was the second year they've done it. Very small convention, like 1,240 people. Masked convention. Amazing.
COVID's still an active problem.
Yes, it is. And
new vaccines are available.
Yeah, I was just reading about that. Get your flu shot, get your new vaccines, y'all.
Yeah, I gotta figure out how to do it. But
yes.
in process.
Yes. But being there felt like the way I just love to describe it is that it felt like I was in Barbie land, because there was all these women supporting other women, diverse women, talking about what they write. We had fun panels. We had meals where you just would sit with the authors too. Like, I was so close to Allie fucking Hazelwood. Like, are you kidding me? Hello?
Small cons are so different in that, like, the celebs are just, like, intermingled.
No, seriously.
Like, that doesn't happen at a big con.
Yeah. Well, like, I literally, lunch on the first day, my friends and I, we sat at this table, and there's a bunch of these ladies that were with us, and they were just conversing with each other, and I was like, they're dressed a little, like, too nice. Like, business casual.
I know what
to
you
be,
mean.
like, your average con.
Yeah, you're like, something.
Yeah, but, like, I don't recognize a lot of authors' faces.
That makes sense.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I went to a panel that afternoon that a few of them were in that I realized, oh shit, they are authors.
Amazing.
You know, they're some of the authors. And the panels were super fun. They had like 4 different ones at these time periods, so you could pick one of 4 to go to. And like, it was just so cool to be in close proximity to like some rock stars and also just indie authors too.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone was so kind and complimenting. Like, if you had like books, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I love that book. Have you read this one? Or girls were giving away like friendship bracelets of different book tropes or bookmarks or stickers. And it was just so nice. It was so nice.
And then you went to Disney.
And then I went to Disney.
Just had the cherry on top, the Mickey cherry.
Yeah, I went to Disneyland for one day, and they had changed Haunted Mansion over to be Christmas Halloween, which I've never experienced before. So I felt like a kid in a candy store because I had never experienced that before. And so at this point, having gone to Disneyland so many times, it's like, it's rare for me to get that excited.
Yeah, you're not having the new things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was so excited when we went into the dining room and it smelled like gingerbread and cinnamon. I lost my shit.
That's a real gingerbread house.
That's what I've heard. Yeah,
okay,
they told me it's different every year.
Yeah, they actually bake it like in the Grand
California?
Yeah, I almost said Grand American, but that was a totally different thing. My brain just was like, what?
Yeah.
Spaz. No, they bake it every year, and so it gets a new design every year.
That's so
cool. It's like something like, I don't know. They said the amount of tons of like gingerbread and icing and things, and it's insane.
Yeah, I can't even tell you what it is. People are like, what does it look like? I'm like, bitch, I don't know. I was just excited it smelled good.
You're like, there's a lot to take in.
There was so much to process. And like, when we got into the Madame Leota room, the ride stopped as it does.
Sure.
Right? And I really enjoyed that room because there was all the floating tarot cards.
Yeah.
And it was so fun.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to get, like, I love getting excited about something like
That's
that.
my favorite, like, by far. Like, Haunted Mansion for me, like, is a skip.
Yeah.
But Nightmare Before Christmas Haunted Mansion, let's go! I think the Jack Skellington in the front of it is just so fun.
It was just so delightful. And Disney had like rolled out some of their Halloween collection that week, so everyone was trying to like jump on that. Thankfully, I wasn't in love with anything.
Hey, yeah.
So
saves you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
a win's a win.
You know what? Let's go to you first.
Okay.
I'm gonna punt that.
I would say right now, for a hot minute, I was sick after coming back from the convention.
Sure.
But it was just like one of those stupid coughs where you're like, oh, my body just doesn't want me to breathe. Like nothing was actively wrong. And then I found out.
Except you couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, yeah, but
it's
not
not
like,
wrong.
Yeah, no, but it was more not like I had no sore throat.
Sure.
I wasn't like coughing and there was like
Sure.
gunk there, And then I found out I had acute bronchitis, so that's cool.
I'm so proud of you for going to the doctor.
Yeah.
Because you kept being sick, and I was like,
Jelare's gonna die.
not great. I was like dead convinced you had COVID.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, they didn't test, so who knows? Maybe you had that too. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. So now I'm on the up and up again.
Yay.
Yeah.
My mid is, okay, so I was like trying to read like a one-off, do you know what I mean? Like just kind of, like you read like a really intense book, and then you just need something like fluff.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? So I had, long time ago, purchased, like when Target was doing a sale, a book called Filthy Rich Vampire.
Wait, hold up. Should I grab it?
Yeah, grab it. It's like literally right behind her. That's genius. Yeah. So Filthy Rich Vampire. I grabbed it. There weren't any other books near it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it wasn't part of series, so I thought. Okay? So I just, happy dappy way, I was like, this is going to be trash, but like good trash, It's
I
like,
gotta say, just really quick, on the back it says, simply thrilling, TM. That's just so funny. Okay.
So I buy this book, and I decide to read it, and so the mid part is, I had a lot of fun, but then I realized as I get to the end, I was like, this is clearly part of a series.
Awkward.
So that sucks. So I had to like go on this quest to get all the other books, including, but not limited to, hitting up a Target at almost midnight. You know what I mean?
That's
One of
what
those
does.
crazy runs. Brian actually almost stole a dinosaur while we were there. Sidebar. That was so funny. He found this dino stuffy he really liked. Mm-hmm. He's really into dinosaurs lately.
I could say, I'm like, that's his thing right now.
That's totally his thing. So there was this dino stuffy, and he really wanted it, so we're going to buy it. It was his birthday month. So we get it, and he was like holding it on his hip.
Amazing. It's like
because it's like a big stuffy. Yeah. So he's holding it on his hip, and like we were checking out the book and with the cash register lady, and she looks at him, and I didn't realize this is what had happened because I was like, there was a lot going on with the book. They were like showing me the tea. These workers were on it. Yeah. Apparently, if their book is damaged, which mine was, it was like ripped.
Shut up.
And I almost was like, Brian, you need to go give me a different one. Like, this one's jinked. And they were like, no, actually, did you know you get an additional 20% off if it's jinkety?
Oh.
And I was like, what do you mean?
That's like secret shit no one tells you.
I know. And then he also told me, he was like, never buy the book, like just at whatever price it rings up at. He was like, the app is always 100 times cheaper.
Oh, that's why I always order stuff on the app because it's always more on sale than the actual store.
That's so sus.
No, for real.
But like I've tried that before with like beauty. I don't think beauty it happens as much
no.
and like things like that. But books, it happens. So
yeah, it happens with books. It happens with video game stuff.
So they'll price match, but you have to say you want to price match.
Yeah.
These employees are on the level. But because of all this,
they're a real one. We
hadn't realized, and so Brian apparently hadn't put his dino on the thing. So I'm like going to pay, and she looks at him, and they're about to close. Like they're tired. Yeah. She looks at him and she's like, "Are you gonna buy that?" And Brian's like, for those of you that don't know, he's like this 6 foot, incredibly muscular man. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Intimidating man with a dino figure.
Yeah, it's just
like, this is my son.
Dinosaur.
He's coming home with me. Don't talk to me or my son ever again.
So hard.
Oh my gosh.
We did buy it. Obviously, we did not steal it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back on track. Okay, so I've done a lot to get these books, right? Mm-hmm. I was on book 4 when it hits me out of nowhere with a pregnancy trope. I tried reading more after because I felt like I'd put so much into this journey.
Yeah.
I had to throw it to the side. I just couldn't do it.
I would eat it. It's like, that is literally like, if we had to tier list tropes, right? That's a D, if D is the lowest, you know? Maybe even an E or an F, just because we can.
It's a T for troll. You know, we're using OWL.
Oh, yeah,
for troll. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, it was so bad. And, like, the book before had made this whole point, like, the Vampire Council was like, you'll have to have a baby. And so they were talking about it. And she was like, I don't want to have a baby. I'm a baby. I'm 21 years old. You're 800. Like,
yeah.
I want to wait. That's, like, a later thing. Like, we need to experience life. And they had been going through so much. And then she's suddenly pregnant. And I was just like,
son of a bitch.
I wouldn't have read this if I knew she was going to make that choice.
Oh, totally.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's like, when I read Twilight back in the day, Breaking Dawn, and Bella was revealed to be pregnant, I remember literally grabbing my book and throwing it across the room.
That was the most pro-life, weird propaganda bullshit I've ever read in my life.
It was so weird.
We were young, and even I was really young when it came out.
Yeah,
I was very younger than you. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell am I reading?
Yeah, I got so angry. Threw that book across the room, threw that hardcover across the room. Did not read it for a week because I was so mad.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
So that was so crazy too, because they literally tell her, you're gonna die. Like, the baby eats you from the inside out because it's a vampire.
Right.
And she's like, I don't care. I'm gonna die with the baby.
Huh?
What? And I know they magically somehow save her.
Oh, come on.
Be serious.
Yeah,
baby and mom would have died.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing. And so it's like, okay, I guess it's a miracle.
Totally. I feel like most of the book community does not like the surprise pregnancy trope.
Everyone hates it.
So I'm like, who are these for? The author? Question mark?
I don't mind if it's like a...
if it's like an epilogue or wait, like...
Yeah, an epilogue
sense,
where it's like, okay, 15 years later, they have a kid. Okay, I'll whatever, that's cute, sure. But it's like, I just feel like it's like, okay, like women, even in our fantasies, like fantasy books can't experience life without being pregnant super young.
Period.
I'm not complete with that. Shut up.
Yeah.
Also, it's really particularly hard to take when it is vampires or fae or whatever, when it's these really old guys.
Yeah, it makes
with
it
really young women.
Way creepy.
So creepy. Like, let her have 10 years. You've had 800 years without kids. Can she not have 10?
No, period.
Like, and then they're like, it was so funny too, because they were like, this pregnancy trope was the worst I've ever seen done too. I don't even care. I'm going to blast it. Okay. They were literally like, because she'd said she didn't want to get pregnant multiple times.
Jeez.
Or at least not right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Kids were later.
Yeah.
By far later. And then, but they hadn't done anything. And because it's kind of not the focus of the book, I just assumed they were doing something. But apparently they hadn't been doing anything to prevent the pregnancy. And so he was like, do we need to have a birds and the bees discussion? Because at first she's like, oh, I can't believe I'm pregnant. And I was just like, huh? What the damn hell? It was so frustrating. Like, I went on this whole emotional journey for what? For why? And I was...
particular one.
Honestly, I should give it away or something, because I don't even want it. That's how trashy it was. Anyway.
Well,
so it's not a fun...
on the floor. It's not going back on the shelf.
It doesn't
deserve to be there.
Okay.
Okay, no.
You gave her your mid. I said, well, I think it's time for the mid.
I think it's time. Let's talk about Harry Potter.
Okay. So, today, Percy Weasley is our subject of choice.
Yes.
And we're going to go through this chronologically to begin with. So, bear with us. I know you all want to talk about the estrangement. I know you want to yell about Percy. I get it, okay?
No,
we're going to get there.
We will get there. We promise. There must be order.
There must be order. Percy did not just fall out of a coconut tree. He exists in the world in which he came from. Yeah. And so we have to talk about that world first.
Coconut tree.
I say that all the time now.
I have never heard you say that, so it's so funny.
To be fair, it's been a week.
Okay,
I go through phases.
We all do. do. Okay.
Okay.
So let's start off. Book 1. We see Percy at platform 9 3/4. Yes.
Yeah, that's the first time we meet Percy and all of the Weasleys,
Yes.
right? And there's so much telling stuff, even though there's not a lot of lines about him, that I think is really important and interesting.
Right.
So he's a prefect already, right? Yes. By the time we meet Percy, he is a prefect. And one of the first interactions we hear him having with his mother is Mrs. Weasley has called all her children to her. Fred and George has just run back down from helping Harry put his stuff in the train. Oh, did you know that kid was Harry Potter that we helped?
Yeah.
She tells him to shut up. The fandom loves that moment. It's a great moment. Great Molly win.
Yeah.
But then Percy's like, well, just a reminder, Mom, I have to leave, like, in just a minute because I'm expected in the front train because I'm a prefect and we have to, and the twins interrupt him and they're like, we know. Like, they're very dismissive of him, as they do. He runs off to go to the front of the train, as all the prefects are required to do. Okay, this isn't just, anyway, doesn't matter. And the twins ask the mother, why does Percy get new robes? And Mrs. Weasley says, because he's a prefect. Anyway, that's a lot to unpack. It just that scene. So let's start there.
Because, like you said, that is a very, very telling scene.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The longer you look at it, the more concerning it gets.
Oh,
so many eggs.
It's like you're unpeeling all the layers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it just keeps.
Yeah. You're like, wow.
Yeah. So I think, like, a little bit of context is helpful. Friendly reminder, Percy is the third child.
Yes.
And both of his older siblings, Bill and Charlie, are very successful at this point.
Yeah, and graduated from Hogwarts.
They're kind of not in the picture for a very long time.
Sure.
And so, as we have discussed on this podcast before, the Weasleys should not have had so many kids because they neglected all of them in various ways. And this scene is so telling of that.
Yeah.
You know. So, let's start to unpack that.
Let's start with the neglect. Let's do it. I love it.
Yeah.
So, for me, we've talked about Weasleys neglecting the children before, right? Because they are not poor.
They're middle class.
Yeah.
Wizarding
We're supposed to believe they're poor.
Yeah.
Because Ron never has spending money. He always has ratty robes, different things. But they're very much wizarding middle class.
Yeah.
They have a lot of privilege.
Yes.
They're a blood family, even if they are quote unquote blood traders.
Yes.
His father works in the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah.
So he's pulling in medium money.
Yeah.
Right? Totally. Probably not great.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
But then when you split that money amongst this many kids, I mean, it's 7, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, wait, I need to count. I'm just going to believe myself.
Yeah, 7.
Okay.
I'm like, wait, no, I'm
I know. I was
myself.
like, wait. 7's a number a lot in Harry Potter, so it makes sense.
I like it.
I like it too. 7's a lot of children, right? So once you split money that far, that gets a little harder, right?
Yeah.
But so even knowing that, for me, there's something particularly harrowing about Percy getting new robes. And therefore, we can assume all resources are kind of delegated this way, right? We can infer that from the text. Resources are delegated not by whose robes are the shabbiest, whose robes fit the least well. Because, I mean, at some points in the text, I do think it's mentioned at one point, Ron's stuff being way too short.
Yeah, that was what I was about to say that. I remember that being mentioned that his robes were way too short.
Yeah, because he, hit a growth spurt.
Yes.
And so it's not picked based off of any sort of need or any sort of whatever. It's literally picked based off of an accomplishment.
Yeah, it's a reward for an accomplishment that makes you
worthy of clothes.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to note too that these are the robes, because I know in the books or in the movies they don't always wear the robes. In the books, the robes they wear every single day.
Yeah.
So this isn't like, oh, he got a fun random thing.
No.
You know what I mean?
That's literally you wear that to school every fucking day.
So I want to break this down. In order to get your necessities, okay? Not your wants, your desires, your fun stuff.
Your essentials to live.
Your essentials to live and exist in the wizarding world. You have to accomplish something. Otherwise, you are worth nothing to me.
Period. Which is so sad.
It's so sad. And I'm sure Percy, that's said to Fred and George.
Yes.
But Percy knows that. He lives in this reality. So it's like, okay, I hit this accomplishment, but I have to keep hitting. I have to keep accomplishing, not only for his goals in the broader world, but
also
just for his mother's love and resources.
Yikes. That's an oof, man.
It's so sad.
That's so sad.
It makes me sad. But also, something else interesting that happens in it.
Yeah.
Fred and George are bullying Percy.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
What do you think of that?
It's not nice.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. And what kind of sucks is that as I've gotten older, obviously, and we've all matured and grown as people from being kids, reading the book or, what have you, because we see the books from Harry's POV and Harry ends up having a better camaraderie with like Fred and George and Ron, obviously.
Yeah, they're closer to him in age.
Yeah, they're closer to him in age as well. Like Harry by any means doesn't dislike Percy, but he doesn't stop the bullying, and he's kind of like, yeah, Percy's a prat, or like
absolutely complicit.
He's totally complicit in what's happening, which then makes us as the viewer go, oh, if everybody else dislikes Percy for being how he is, which is just doing what he needs to do to survive, then it kind of makes you like, I feel like we were kind of meant to be like, oh yeah, Percy sucks.
Yeah, it's almost like, okay, so apparently his crime in this first scene is mentioning to his mom he needs to go to the prefect card.
Yeah.
That was relevant context to his mother.
Totally. Like, that makes sense for his mom to know. It's not like he just was like, peace.
Yeah, I feel like we're supposed to interpret it as he works in, like, and I know at later points, maybe with Head Boy or something, maybe you could argue he does. But, like, we're supposed to take this as, like, he's boasting all the time about this, but that's not textually accurate.
No, it's not. He's literally just telling his mom, like, hey, I have to do what I need to do.
Yeah. And it's like, there's nothing inherently wrong with being proud of a huge accomplishment within his family.
Totally.
And so it's a really interesting thing because, he's a lot like a character we all know and love, Miss Hermione Granger. He's taking up space. He's like, yeah, I accomplished this. This is a big deal, and I'm really excited. So what? He polishes his badge. Like, what about that makes him a jerk? No, I'm gonna need someone to sit me down and tell me. I don't get it.
No, no, seriously. And even, like, within the context of the first book, thinking of mirroring how, like, Percy and Hermione mirror each other. Like, Percy's bullied, not just by his brothers, but we can kind of infer that, like, Gryffindor is kind of like womp womp towards him, Hermione is bullied for similar reasons.
Yeah. Initially. For sure.
Until
she gets in with Ron and Harry.
Yeah.
And then I do think because Harry is so popular, not Ron, let's be serious. Because Harry is so popular, given who he is, I think that insulates Hermione from a lot of those sort of criticisms going forward.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I know we're supposed to, so we forgive Ron and Harry for that moment that makes Hermione run away crying in the first book of, like, does she have to be a know-it-all, whatever. So we forgive them, but, like, Harry still didn't do anything when that happened either.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, he didn't say, oh, that's rude, let's not say that. Like, he didn't do that. And I'm not saying I blame 11-year-old Harry for that.
Yeah, no.
That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, like, I do think Harry protected Hermione, and which is why we all know and love Hermione. But Percy's a lot like her.
Yeah. And he doesn't have a Harry.
Yeah, he doesn't have a Harry. And so it's just really sad to watch Fred and George. I know they obviously have different goals in their lives. And they end up also being quite successful in their own way, but why do they have to dismiss him so hard? It just doesn't quite textually make sense to me.
Yeah, the math ain't mathing.
Maybe, I honestly, if I'm being honest, I think it's jealousy because their mom loves him more.
Probably.
And I can't imagine how painful that would be because Fred and George, obviously they're bullies, so there's that. But they're obviously immensely intelligent and smart and scrappy. Yeah, and creative. And so they have all these skills. And we're supposed to just supposed to believe, I think, that this is like a surprise later with Wizard Weasleys. But it's always been in the text. And so, I mean, their mother, if Molly was paying attention, an author, they would know that about the twins.
Totally.
And instead, they just stifle them and aren't proud of them because it's not a traditional course.
It's not the conventional way of making your way in the wizarding world.
It's not what Molly wants.
Yeah, it's not what Molly wants. And so they're punished. And I think that makes them lash out at Percy, whose goals and things line up with what Molly wants. Period. Because so really, it's Molly's fault. If that's one thing you take from this, it's Molly's fault.
parenting is a double road. Yeah. Like, at any point, you could have been like, Molly, we're not going to do this. So I think it's both. Yeah. But it's just so incredibly harrowing to watch it happening, I think.
Totally. And I think it also just makes sense with Percy being the next oldest kid.
Sure.
It's like, that's your immediate competition. Because we also see Ron be like, Fred and George, you know, and it just makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. You know, we think about Ron in front of the Mirror of Erised.
Yeah.
He sees himself as head boy. No, maybe not.
Yeah, I think it was head boy.
He was winning the Quidditch Cup, and he won a lot of awards. And he said, and it makes sense because that's what he needs to attain Molly's love.
My job.
It's harrowing. Okay, so book 2. So Percy, book 1, he's a prefect. We don't see too much of him, but he's around being a prefect. Okay,
he's doing his job.
Book 2 is really interesting because we see him riding a lot at the beginning, and we don't know this until context clicks in. But we find out he had been dating Penelope Clearwater. Why is she important in book 2?
She was, what's the word? Basically, she was
petrified.
She was petrified, yeah.
Yeah, she was petrified by the basilisk.
I was going to say, she was a victim.
She is a victim.
That's the word I was trying to come up with. She was a victim.
Yeah, she was a victim of the heir of Slytherin.
Yeah, and she's also a Ravenclaw. Fun facts.
Ravenclaw representation in the house.
Not
much of it, but occasionally.
I know. Say we love cross-house relationships. Could you imagine how awkward it would be to date someone in your own house?
That would be so weird.
You would never be able to get away from it.
Like, all your casual moments are right together.
Ew.
Gross.
Okay. That is
It's almost like incestuous, almost.
Ooh, yeah. That's a little
a weird vibe.
Anyways. So, yeah, Penelope Clearwater was a victim and was petrified.
Yeah, and so, you know, that's important context, I think, even though we don't learn until the end of the book, because Fred and George, once again, are making fun of Percy.
Yeah.
As they do.
For writing letters all summer.
But then, at Hogwarts, they're telling Ron and Harry, they're like, you know, Percy, we keep seeing him sneaking around after hours, blah, 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 blah. I'm pretty sure he thinks he can catch the heir of Slytherin on his own. Can you believe that? That proud. They don't say that.
Yeah. I mean, they probably.
That was like the vibe.
The vibe.
The general vibe.
Yeah.
So what's so interesting about this is, like, okay, so they don't know that's his girlfriend, but, like, kids are going missing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mrs. Norris.
No animal is safe. No human safe. No ghost is safe.
Respect on Mrs. Norris. She's still a cat. We still love her. Like,
yeah.
Even if we don't like Filch. So, you know what I mean? That's very Gryffindor that he's trying to find the heir of Slytherin. And then obviously he has that invested interest of that's his girlfriend. And I know they don't know that, but, like, again, they're being dismissive and cruel and whatever. But what's funny about that is it's coming from the Weasley twins, who say all the time, like, how, like, everyone acts like it's so cool that Harry goes off and does these things.
Yeah, well, even Hermione tried to figure it out, too, you know?
Yeah. The whole tree is all part of
this.
this.
And no one gives a fuck
about
what they're doing.
But because Percy is the one doing it, we're going to dismiss him and make fun of him.
Yeah.
When actually that's so brave and so Gryffindor of him that he's out there trying to figure this out.
Totally. It's very proactive.
It's absolutely proactive. Also, okay, pardon me, because it's Fred and George, let's say it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was he doing his prefect rounds and you're just being an asshole right now?
Seriously.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, period.
Like, he's being watchful because he's on prefect rounds while the Chamber of Secrets is open. But sure, let's make fun of him for that.
Yeah, I'm like, if you're going to make fun of him for doing that, make fun of any other prefect doing their job during that horrible moment in Hogwarts history.
Yeah, like, seriously. And it's just like, it's so funny because they're all in the same house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Gryffindors do, right?
Yeah.
They go out, they're trying to find, there's a chamber, a top secret chamber open. Yeah, of course we're going to go try to find it. Be so serious.
Seriously.
But yeah, it's because Percy did it, we're going to be disdainful of it. And I actually think it just shows, you know, you think about it, his girlfriend had been taken, how incredibly upset he must have been. And then obviously, his sister does end up getting taken.
Yeah, which makes the stakes even higher and more intense.
And, you know, very quickly at that point, right?
Yeah, everything's
Ron and Harry are going down and stuff. Hermione's petrified. I'm not just leaving her out.
Yeah, she's not in the picture for a moment.
Out of commission.
Yeah.
But an important piece she figured out as a basilisk.
Yeah.
But, like, I can't help but think of what that must have felt like for Percy. How upsetting it would be for one of your first girlfriend boyfriends to be disappeared like that. And then on top of that, his sister, I bet he felt like a failure.
Totally. I'm sure he blamed himself. If
Absolutely.
he was out there trying to figure it out because his girlfriend, was petrified, and then finding out, like, oh no, like,
Now
I
my
let
sister.
this happen, like, I would feel immensely guilty.
Absolutely.
He definitely, I would believe he feels like it's his fault, because he probably is like, I let this happen.
I agree with that.
Up,
I can't imagine how traumatic that was for him.
Totally.
Also, I want to point out a really interesting but very small moment in book 2. That's really telling, actually.
Okay, let's go.
So, reminder, Jenny not only had been taken by the end of the book, but the reason she'd been taken is she was the one that Tom Riddle, aka Voldemort, was possessing.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So she's being possessed. She doesn't really know that at first, but that's what's happening. So, and we can tell from how Harry describes her, it's her first year at Hogwarts, so she's a baby. Mm-hmm. They talk about how she looks terrible, different things. But the first person that does something about it, to my recollection, please feel free to call me out, but it's Percy. Percy's the one that goes to Jenny, and he's like, you don't look great. Like, something's clearly wrong. She says nothing's wrong. He makes her take a pepper up potion, though.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking she's just really exhausted, maybe from the stress of being away from home or what have you.
Right.
So we have three of her other siblings that are in the same common room as her. Mm-hmm. The same long table to eat lunches and dinners.
They're paying no attention to her.
None of them did jack shit.
Yeah.
There were signs. Percy's the only one that noticed and tried to do something. Mm-hmm. And I think that adds probably to that feeling of guilt when then it was so much more serious than he could have ever anticipated.
100%.
That's like quite a lot for a little side character to be going through.
That's a lot.
I know.
That's a lot of pressure on Percy. Holy cow.
If it was Percy Weasley in the Chamber of Secrets, like this poor man, and then he wasn't even the one that helped save her. Yeah, so he probably, I bet he's got to be beating himself up about that, right?
Totally.
He's got all these OWLs, all these things, and yet he couldn't help his siblings. His younger sibling was the one that went down there.
Yeah. That would be so embarrassing. That'd be awkward.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot to handle at, what, 16?
Yeah, 16, 17, yeah.
Gosh, man.
Poor guy. Okay.
Poor Percy, okay.
So, Percy's been going through a lot, y'all.
He's going through the ringer.
We go into book 3, right? This book, obviously, Prisoner of Azkaban. A prisoner's escape from Azkaban.
Oh, no.
Right? And Molly Weasley, we find out Molly has asked Percy to keep an eye on Harry.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because, as far as Arthur is concerned, they believe that Sirius Black is going to be trying to hunt for Harry, right?
And also, each year something traumatic has happened at Hogwarts.
Absolutely. So Percy's been told to do this, and Harry ends up noting in the text that he keeps noticing Percy's like following him and different things. And it really annoys the hell out of Harry. Mm-hmm. But I can't help but think, and as the reader, you empathize with that. Like, that is annoying that Percy's doing that. Like, I totally get it. Mm-hmm. However, it's really wholesome. He could have just been like, yeah, sure, Mom, I'll do that. And then he could have not cared.
Yeah.
He cared enough to follow through.
I mean, he's busy as hell. The fact that he's doing it.
It's his new year.
Yeah.
His NEWTs are this year.
Okay.
Those are such hard tests. And
those are the ones that matter.
Yes.
Not that OWLs don't matter, but those are the ones that matter.
Okay. Kids are like cracking left and right during these tests.
Yeah.
And Percy's taking the time to follow Harry while Harry does reckless bullshit. And I do think that's relevant later, is that Percy does witness firsthand that Harry, I mean, I love the boy, right?
We all love Harry, but he's a dummy.
I'm a Gryffindor. I get it. I do it too, right? But Harry is reckless, just hands down.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
And Percy now has witnessed that firsthand, and how frustrating that must be. Mm-hmm. Especially when you have the fat lady getting attacked by Sirius Black, different things. And I know he ends up being good, but like...
But still, it's like no one knows that.
No one knows that! And to be fair, someone evil was roaming the halls still, so...
Yeah.
Harry was in danger.
Totally. Once again, Percy taking his own life into his own hands to protect Harry.
Yeah, someone he cares about.
And Harry's, like, taking it for granted.
Absolutely he is. Okay. Percy graduates.
Gets out of there.
Peace. And he heads to the Ministry of Magic.
And then we enter... Goblet of Fire enters the chat. This is where things start to get dicey.
Yeah, this is definitely where we're getting into, like, post-Hogwarts. We're working up to our estrangement. Okay,
Yes.
we're not there yet.
This is the prologue. The prologue to the estrangement. Okay.
So he's working at the Ministry of Magic, and we see little glimpses of this, right?
Yeah. We see glimpses of it in the beginning when they're like going to the World Cup because he wants to see the minister and like make an impression. He's working very hard and
like kind of around the clock, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's working for Barty Crouch. Senior, not junior. Important distinction. He's working for Barty Crouch Jr. And we know that he's like trying so hard to beat expectations, right? Like writing this very long dissertation about cauldron thickness.
Which is actually important.
Yeah, it's so easy to laugh about, but if you think about it, like if cauldrons aren't thick enough, like potions, there's a lot of dangerous potions that witches and wizards make, and so
it makes sense.
Yeah, that's the kind of regulation that's like, yeah, we got to make sure that our heating appliances don't blow up.
Yeah, or like you use the right thickness of steel in like your walls, or like for heating and cooling and all that.
Absolutely,
stuff, Otherwise, oops, fire.
Yeah. And so I should respect that more because Percy's end goal is Minister of Magic.
Yes, that is his goal. And
so, but he doesn't care that this is like, I mean, if we're being honest, as important as it is, man, would that suck.
Oh, yeah.
To get out of Hogwarts and the first job you have, you're writing this huge essay about the thickness of cauldrons. This regulation, like very minutiae stuff.
Yeah.
But he just really gives it his all. And actually, I think that's like really kind of cool of him.
It's very admirable.
Yeah. So he's trying his hardest. We see that already. He worships the ground Barty Crouch Sr. walks on.
Yes, he does.
he's such a hard worker.
Yeah.
Especially because he gets to directly compare him to other head of departments, like Ludo Bagman.
Yeah.
Who's just like, YOLO, I'm just a white male who failed right up.
Right.
I was an athlete once. A mid one at that. I rode it all the way to a government position.
It's giving I peaked in high school.
That's exactly what it's giving. Maybe college.
I peaked and here we are.
That's so funny. So Percy, now he does worship Barty Crouch Sr. probably a little too much. He takes Barty Crouch Sr.'s side when Winky is dismissed, which is a harrowing moment.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think Percy is a perfect example of, and I think this is as good a place to talk about it as any, of like listening to authority figures to a fault. Like he's going to follow instructions to a T.
Totally.
And if Barty Crouch Sr., who's this very important man who does all this very important work, says that, Winky deserved to be dismissed, then she deserved to be dismissed. Which, we should always second guess things, especially when they're discriminatory. See, quickly, his job starts expanding, right? When does his job start expanding?
The Triwizard Tournament.
Yeah, the Triwizard Tournament's happening, and Barty Crouch Sr. gets sick.
Air quotes.
And so he writes in, and he says to Percy, I'm going to start giving you instructions via Owl Mail because I'm very sick. I can't come into office.
Yep.
But he's still sending in huge amount of instructions.
Yeah. And isn't Percy, like, basically acting as his replacement in, like, meetings and in very important spaces,
So he essentially is, like, I mean, it's still Barty Crouch Sr.'s rules, but still, he's the one...
He's being the face of...
He's the manager of this huge department.
Totally.
So, I mean, that's a big deal.
Dude, at like 17? Bruh.
He might be 18.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. It's a big deal. And he thinks, and this makes sense, right? He is the assistant. He had been working hard. He believes he deserves this.
Yeah. He wants to make a good impression.
But clearly, and yeah, any manager when they step out, you're like, well, if I can show that I do this really well, like, what will this show? So, yeah, he's sitting in on meetings. He's talking, I mean, Harry's told this. So he's talking at home to it, which would include to his father, who also works at the Ministry of Magic. No one questions it.
Yeah, which is one of the most scary things, that no one questions it for that entire academic year.
No one questions it. The only thing that you could argue is questioning it is Percy wasn't allowed to sit in Barty Crouch Sr.'s stead as a judge.
Yeah.
At the Triwizard Tournament.
I mean,
and so Ludo Bagman comes instead.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you're an assistant, be so serious.
Yeah.
What that tells me, though, is that the higher-ups knew that Barty Crouch Sr. was sick.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's key context for what's about to happen. Okay? Obviously, Barty Crouch Sr. had been actually Imperious cursed by his Azkaban son. Really bad news bears.
Yeah,
okay?
Seriously.
And we find out, so right, everything awful comes out, Voldemort comes back, whatever.
Yeah,
okay. During that summer, it turns out Percy ends up getting investigated formally. Because how didn't he notice that his boss was under the Imperious Curse? How didn't he question that he had been given all the rules? But I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah.
Ludo Bagman must have known.
Dude, anybody else in the ministry should have fucking known.
That entire department.
Even his dad could have questioned it.
His dad 100% should have questioned it. He's been at the ministry long enough. You're telling me he didn't think to be like, I'm going to ask around.
Yeah.
And be like, has anyone else heard from him?
No, period.
Maybe I should stop by.
Yeah, it makes no sense because Percy's not keeping the fact that he's doing all these things secret. Everyone knows and is acting complacent.
Could you imagine in your job right now, right? If your boss's assistant came up to you and was like giving you instructions, you're like, the fuck are you?
Yeah, no, period.
I'm not gonna listen to you.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, well, it's from so and so.
I'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go talk to them.
Yeah. Get out of my face, 18-year-old. Like, you know what I mean? But no one questions it.
Yeah.
Because I think it seemed believable.
Oh, totally.
But they needed a scapegoat because someone had escaped from Azkaban and no one at the freaking Ministry of Magic noticed.
Yep.
And so they needed a scapegoat, and I think that's what they did to poor Percy Weasley because he was the least powerful player on the board.
Totally.
More important people knew, hands down.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
I mean, if anything, if we're gonna first we should have blamed Ludo Bagman. White male, it failed up.
Yeah.
Because he also didn't investigate the disappearance of one of his own members, Bortha Jerkins.
Oh,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this man is just like left and right, not doing anything.
Yeah.
And we know for a fact that he'd been talked to about this because he took Barty Crouch Sr.'s place as a Triwizard Judge.
Yeah.
So but doesn't care. Just no cares.
It's screaming the beginnings of the corruption of the Ministry of Magic.
Absolutely. This horrible thing happened. We need to like PR control it.
Yeah.
And instead of having a true investigation, even if they didn't want to believe that Voldemort was back, instead of truly investigating, okay, where did our processes fall off to where we didn't notice this horrible thing, chain of events, for a year? No. Okay? Instead, we're going to blame the 18-year-old who's been working his ass off all year and that everyone knew about. A formal investigation? That sounds terrifying.
That sounds absolutely terrifying.
Especially at the Ministry of Magic.
Oh, yeah. Like, who knows what happened?
They don't have, like, a low-level prison, y'all.
No.
It's like, you're not guilty or prison or you're there in Azkaban.
Straight up.
That's an unacceptable, right? They need, like, Human Rights Watch up in there. Magical Creatures Watch, I don't know.
Totally. Yeah, so Percy goes through this traumatic thing.
Yep.
I would understandably be angry and bitter and be like,
Absolutely.
I did what I was told. I followed the rules. What the fuck?
Absolutely. The system he has been taught to trust in
failed him.
Failed him horrifically. And then punished him too.
Totally.
So kind of a two for there.
Yeah.
And then not just the system, because very quickly him and his dad are going to get into a fight here.
Yeah.
Because his dad ends up saying, because Percy, after he goes through this formal investigation, which harrowing, right? He's asked to be Cornelius Fudge's assistant. That's a huge.
Yeah, because that's Minister of
Magic.
Magic's assistant. Hell yeah, that's close to what he wants.
Yeah.
If he can get in with the Minister of Magic, that'll help him in the long run.
And it must feel like this olive branch.
Oh, totally.
I know you've just been through this whole thing. Yeah, it wasn't fair that we did this. So instead, I'm going to give you this assistant position.
Yeah.
He tells his dad, probably so proud of himself, right?
I would be too.
Yeah. And like thinking, honestly, he's probably grasping at straws. I just went through this investigation. Like, does this ruin my career forever? There's a lot of questions on the board here.
Totally.
Absolutely. And he goes to his dad really proud. And instead of hyping him, which I mean, his dad's point is valid, but it doesn't make the situation okay. Because remember, we're looking at this from Percy's point. Yeah. He goes to his dad, and he's like, and his dad's reaction is not to be hype, is not to whatever. His dad's reaction, because at this point, Cornelius Fudge is on a smear campaign against Harry and Dumbledore.
Yeah.
So Mr. Weasley says, well, you're an idiot. That's not why he gave you the job. He gave you the job because he's trying to spy on our family because we're close to Dumbledore. Man, what a gut punch.
Yeah, for real.
My own father.
I know. I'd be like, the fuck? I just got the best upgrade after everything I went through.
You don't think I could get this on my own?
No, seriously.
You know how insulting that is? It's like, oh, actually, sweetie, that was not because you're good at all. It's like, we really blamed the system a minute ago.
Yeah.
But and we kind of touched on this, how mad Percy must be. And I think that's why this argument blows up into the full estrangement that it does. That not only did no one at the ministry do anything when clearly something was going on with Barty Crouch Sr.,
but no one in his family did.
Yeah, no one in his family. And his dad, who's worked at the ministry for at least 20 years. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Who knows?
Okay? His dad, who we know he like traveled to work and back sometimes. He talked to his dad all the time. You know, they worked together more or less. His dad never, and again, I'm not saying crush the dude's dreams to his face.
No, for sure.
Right? But his dad, who knows how the Ministry of Magic's operations work, never was like, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
Let's ask some questions.
Yeah.
Be happy for my son to his face, but let's ask some questions, make sure everything's okay.
Yeah, like, let's sit down and talk about that. Let's talk about why this could be a little sus.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, normally, an assistant probably wouldn't be given those powers.
Totally.
So, let's question it, right? His father didn't do that, and so I can't imagine, you know, someone with that kind of experience and whatever, I just can't help but feeling like Arthur wasn't paying attention.
Totally.
Because Percy over-talks about his life, right? That's why we're all supposed to hate him.
Yeah, well, it just also made me think, like, if Percy feeling like this is a huge deal and telling Arthur about it, I'm sure it's also just in essence like, okay, I'm going to get more of my essential basic needs met. I'm going to get love from my parents because keep
that's a great point.
I keep one-upping myself even after I just got torn down by this investigation. Which, like, I mean, I don't remember in the text, but it kind of almost feels like Arthur and Molly and the family probably did not even care that the investigation happened. I mean, that's a big, bold statement. But, like...
I don't think we know enough, but yeah.
We don't know enough. But given how oblivious everyone was to what was happening during the year, I'm more inclined to think they probably did not care as much as they should have. You know?
Yeah.
And that sucks.
That's horrible.
Because it's like, now being told by his dad, like, oh, they just want to spy on us. It's like, okay, cool, Dad.
So you're saying you don't believe in me?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you don't believe me. You don't believe in me.
Yeah.
You don't understand what I went through.
And then if I'm not bringing any of these accomplishments, I think that was such a great point.
Yeah, like, if I'm not bringing value to our family, then, like...
will I not be loved anymore?
Exactly.
Ow! No wonder he runs away.
Yeah.
I mean, runs away is a strong word. No, it's 18, but, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then, obviously, we know Percy during the estrangement, Dark Ages, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have the hearing with Harry, and we would like to think Percy's on Harry's side, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what happens.
That's not what happens.
Percy agrees with a very derogatory statement towards Harry. But I want to call back to some context that we realized earlier, because I was horrified when Percy did that too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everyone was, understandably.
Obviously. Because Harry's innocent, okay?
Yeah.
But, like, Percy agrees with this derogatory statement, but I can't help thinking of when Percy was a prefect, and he was, like, trying to guard Harry, and Harry kept doing reckless shit.
He was witnessing Harry's recklessness.
And so then, yeah, it's probably not a stretch for him to believe that Harry was reckless. Anything else?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, the math is mathing, right? For the rest of the Ministry of Magic members, they haven't witnessed Harry be like that. Yeah. And so for them to be popping off at the mouth, whatever. Okay, it's smear campaign. But actually, I think it makes a lot of sense that Percy is like, this actually adds up with your character, bro.
No, period. It makes sense. From Percy's pop, it makes sense.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, Harry wouldn't lie.
Right.
But, like, I do think that gives a lot of grace to that situation.
Totally.
Okay, so during the Dark Ages, this 5th book, right, Order of the Phoenix, so much. Percy says no to his mom's sweater when she tries to send him a Christmas sweater. He won't come over. When his dad is attacked,
in the hospital,
he is attacked while guarding the Department of Mysteries.
Yeah.
And he's in St. Mungo's. Percy does a visit. So everyone hates him.
Yeah, they all hate him. Which, like, from their POV, that hurts.
It's understandable.
It's understandable. But then, On the flip side, that I think is interesting to think about, because we know Percy kind of redeems himself later on. Obviously, there's a lot happening at the Ministry, and he's thrown into the middle of it.
Yep.
He's probably just trying to stay afloat. So you could also kind of perceive him rejecting those gifts and rejecting to see his family as protecting his family. If Arthur was straight up to his... Not if. Arthur being straight up to his face, being like, oh, they're doing that so you can get info on us. I feel like that's not that much of a leap for Percy to then be like, okay, I need to actually distance myself from my family to protect them.
It's interesting because he was so close at this point to Fudge that you do have to question how much he probably knew.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like he probably started seeing stuff, and I don't think it takes a huge jump of logic to think he might have started being like, I'm not sure this is all adding up. And then, if his dad got injured in the Department of Mystery...
Which is sus.
It's sus. Why was he there in the middle of the night?
Hands down, it's so sus.
Yeah, which is why Dumbledore freaked out when it happened, right? Like, they had to make sure, have a very good cover story, but I mean, it was tenuous at best, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so Percy, I mean, if he's smart, which we know he is, just categorically, he's probably putting it together that there's stuff going on, and that his dad is clearly part of it.
Oh, yeah.
And so going to his dad in a lot of ways puts his dad at risk.
Totally.
And before you say the Minister of Magic wouldn't do that, first of all, yes, he would. Secondly, Rufus Scrimgeour later, in a book or two later, does use Percy's relationship with his family.
Oh, totally. 100%.
Against him.
Yeah.
They just show up on Christmas Day the next year because Rufus wants to talk to Harry.
Yeah.
So that's used by that minister, so why would it be used by Fudge?
Yeah.
Who's at his wit's end and lashing out in weird ways. I don't think that's a huge jump of logic.
No, for sure.
And even if he sends back the sweater because he's pissed at his dad...
That's also valid, too.
You know what? Yeah.
I maybe would, too.
Your dad... I think Arthur needed to apologize to Percy. Yeah. Percy is the child.
Yeah. Not
He's
the parent.
18. And I get that this estrangement was hard or whatever, but, like, own up and be like, I wish I'd been there for you. I did not mean to say that you couldn't have gotten this job on your own merit. I have concerns about Fudge.
Yeah.
But I believe you are worthy of great jobs, and you are so talented, and I love you, even if you weren't getting these jobs.
100%. And also, like, it also makes sense that with Percy's long-term goals, he would want to get there on his own merit rather than being associated with his family for being a pure blood family and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things at play.
Yeah, that's actually a great thing you brought that up because we didn't mention this, but part of the fight that he had with Arthur, which is why I'm assuming Arthur did not apologize, is Percy throws in his dad's face when his dad said what he said. He threw in his dad's face how hard it is to be at the Ministry of Magic when he's just known as Arthur's son, because Arthur is known as being, like, not ambitious.
Yes, because maybe it was just a movie thing, maybe it was in the books, but I feel like I remember at one point some character talking about Arthur said, like, Arthur could have easily progressed, but stayed where he was. I might be making that up.
I don't remember that.
Okay, I could be pulling something out of my ass, but I feel like I have a memory of, like, some character talking about that.
I definitely feel like, I don't remember that. But
I'm gonna look that up.
He works in, like, the Muggle Protection Office?
Yeah.
What is it called?
It's the Muggle Artifacts Division.
Okay,
and he deals with Muggle artifacts that have been cursed.
And so we know for a fact, because he talks about it, that it's not very well funded. Like, there's 2 guys, I think. And he's one of the 2 guys. Yeah. And they just don't have a lot of funding. And so I do think, now I don't think it's a lack of ambition, but I think because he is choosing to be in a department without a lot of funding, there isn't anywhere up to go. Do you know what I mean? It's not like the Department of Mysteries or the Department of Magical Games where you can work your way up because it has a lot of funding. So his job is undoubtedly important, but I also think his dad is kind of a little kooky.
Oh yeah, he is.
We love Arthur.
He's a character.
However, he does break a lot of laws that he is in charge of regulating, technically.
Totally.
Like, messing with the car was illegal. I can see why, because obviously when then Ron and Harry drove the car, the Ford Angela, to school, that's something Molly talks about in her Howler, is your father's in a lot of trouble with the ministry. Because again, that's illegal. Okay, I'm not saying Arthur can't be interested in Muggle things, but what he did was illegal, and he knew that because he works in that department.
Yeah.
So I do think, like, that's kind of like the last, like, big news item that Arthur's had. That would be embarrassing if that was your dad.
Totally.
Like,
pretty awkward.
Dad, why the hell are you doing illegal shit? Can you be normal? Like, it's not like he was just driving a Ford Angela around. Because Arthur's not that chill. He had to then modify it magically.
Totally.
Like, that's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird.
I kind of see from Percy's Bob on that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Voldemort, obviously...
He's back.
He's back, and now the Ministry is aware of it at the end of the 5th book. But Percy doesn't come back to the family.
Nope. He stays away.
He stays away. And I know a lot of the fandom feels a type of way about this. I think our situation... I still think hurtful things were said.
Oh,
both sides.
Totally.
And even though he picked the wrong side of the Ministry of Magic, I think that that's an understandable place to be. I think coming back from that sucks because, and we end up seeing this when he does come back, he's not in a position of power or even equal footing with his parents. To be like, this can no longer be a conversation of like, oh, hey, you said some hurtful things. Like, you were kind of right about some things, but also some of the basic premises were messed up. Like, they can't have that conversation and heal.
No. There's so much that would need to be unpacked.
Yeah, so it's kind of like he just has to come back and be like, I'm a stupid idiot. And sure, yeah, I guess I am too stupid to have a good job. That sucks.
That's dehumanizing.
Yeah. And I know Molly sends him sweaters, and we could argue those are olive branches. But they're also kind of weak at best.
Because she makes sweaters for everyone.
Yeah, she makes sweaters for everyone.
It's not special. It's not a token of... Well,
I think it's really sweet she says it.
It's sweet, but I would say it's not like a specific, like, I love you personally kind of thing.
Sure.
You know, obviously when Harry gets one in book 1, that is very much like a big...
That's very touching.
That's very touching. But as far as like within the confines of the Weasley family, I feel like it would have to be something different.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one because it's like, I don't know, it gets complicated.
Yeah, it gets complicated.
Should Percy have maybe come back? Maybe. But I also understand why that's hard because he can't have that real conversation with them.
Mm-mm.
I do think that's interesting. And then you quickly hit a point where the Ministry's taken over by Death Eaters in the next book. And then he probably, like, coming back quickly gets harder and harder.
Yeah, because the more and more time that passes, the more and more fucked up everything gets. If he came back, he could put his family in danger, or they could put him in danger.
Absolutely. Also, at some point, coming back becomes hard because you can't just easily go into your parents' house now. It's all, like, you know, his family's in hiding.
Yeah, everyone's in hiding.
Everything's really warded. Yeah. Like, keepers.
Yeah, secret keepers, yeah.
Secret keepers now for, like, the cottage. You know, where it's all very complex.
It gets so complex real fast. And so, like, being able, if, like, Percy being so, yeah, I'm just, like, thinking of how tough that would be. Like, if I was, like, by myself and, like, say, tried to find you, that would be, like, the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And it would be so sad. Even if, you know, we're like, yeah, we're homies, right? But that would be so hard to find contact with anybody that you...
It's especially interesting, too, because, like, okay, we know he does manage it, though.
Mm-hmm.
He somehow, at some point, got in contact with Aberforth, Dumbledore's brother, enough to be like, hey, I'm pretty sure you're part of the Order, right? And I love and miss my family. Like, what can I do? And Aberforth eventually reaches out to him and is like, hey, Battle of Hogwarts happening, let's go.
Let's go.
And Percy comes.
Yeah.
And it's this beautiful reunion. Fred and George, I will say, and this is beautiful to see. Because, again, I actually don't blame Fred and George for bullying Percy. As horrible as it was.
No, it was horrible, but they are human, and it was a product of dynamics and
people can be, and we can, it's an interesting thing, because people can be good parents and also fuck their kids up.
Oh, totally.
And this is how they fuck their kids up.
Totally.
So Fred and George are very quick to re-embrace Percy, actually.
Yeah.
And it's actually really quite beautiful.
Which is so touching.
It was amazing. So, middle of the battle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Percy calls himself a prat, and Fred and George are like,
Yeah.
All right, well, yeah, if you're going to admit it, then we're fine now. We're cool. And Percy cracks a joke, and I don't remember what the joke was, but his brothers are laughing, and they're like, oh my gosh, you made a joke? Can you do that?
Yes, I remember that.
And then one of the twins dies.
I'm so glad they had that moment.
It was horrible for Percy, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, so in my mind, the only thing Percy did potentially wrong, and we've said we can see why, is he maybe could have come back to the fold a little sooner. But I actually think all his actions up until that point were very justifiable. Maybe was a little cruel to Harry in the hearing, but again, I actually think it's really understandable.
Given what he knows of Harry and his seen of Harry, it makes sense. It's hard. It's a balancing act, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, which is so interesting because, like, as we've said before, the fandom kind of makes Percy have to be this horrible person.
Yeah, we're supposed to hate him.
We're supposed to hate him.
Because he's proud of being head boy, I guess.
Yeah. So we're meant, like, you know, we're supposed to hate him. But he's actually really admirable.
I agree with that. I think consistently we see him exhibit traits that are so Gryffindor. And I think as a fandom, we all just focus on the fact that he's ambitious. But he is trying to find the heir of Slytherin. He's trying to protect Harry from a literal breakout serial murderer from Azkaban.
He's being brave. He's thoughtful.
He's looking out for his sister. One of the only ones doing so.
Yeah.
And Jenny's, like, getting sicker and sicker. Mm-hmm. It's so, like, he's consistently there and doing the things. And then with everything that happened with that ministry, I think I would say the pivotal moment for Percy is that Ministry of Magic hearing.
Yeah.
I think that breaks this poor son of a bitch.
Like his personal investigation or the...
Yes, his personal investigation. I think Percy getting investigated.
Yeah, I agree.
Being so incredibly unfair, I think scared that poor boy to his core.
I mean...
And he flamed out.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. And then he still comes back. He finds a way to come back. Mm-hmm. And even finding a way to do that would probably be difficult.
It would be so difficult.
He was probably having to sleuth to even figure out about Aberforth. No one knows about Aberforth.
Because they're like, no one knows Aberforth. Are you for real right now? No one knows.
And we know he's being, because he says this to the family. Mm-hmm. I would have come back sooner. But I knew I was being watched.
So, period. He's keeping his family safe.
And also, while being watched, that's like hard to even physically do without them being stopped.
Totally. It kind of makes me, as we're talking about all these different characteristics Percy has, he exhibits, obviously, a lot of Gryffindor traits, primarily. But he has bits of, like, every house, too.
Yeah.
Loyalty to his family. He's very smart and cunning. Ambition. Bravery. All the things.
I actually think he's kind of, like, very Hermione.
Well, yeah.
He's Hermione coded, like we were saying earlier. Because I've heard a lot of people argue in the fandom that he should have been Slytherin because he's so ambitious. But I think that's interesting because Hermione's ambitious and no one ever says that.
Oh yeah, most people.
I've never heard anyone argue that.
Yeah, the main argument I've heard is Hermione should have been in Ravenclaw because she's so smart.
Yes, and it's interesting because you could argue so Ravenclaws, they want to be top of their class. That's ambition plus. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it comes down to your intention with it.
Yeah.
You know, are you trying to be top of the class? I think for me, ambition for ambition's sake is just like you just want the title.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like it's a little more selfish.
Yeah, like, okay, think Lucius.
Yeah.
That man is not putting in the work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or Slughorn.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect Slytherin example.
That'd be an interesting man to deep dive.
Well, list. Okay. He, like, doesn't want to put in the work to actually have the accolades himself.
Oh, yeah.
He's lazy.
He's lazy, so that's why he relies on, like...
He wants the prestige, though.
He wants the prestige. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking how... It's literally, like, kind of like a favor system. If he is like, I praise you and give you all these, you know, academic whatever, highlighting these students... He just gets the benefits later on for being a great teacher.
Yeah. That's exactly what he's built. Slug Club, the 100%.
Yeah, Slug Club is 100% that.
So, it's like, you want the accolade for the accolades.
Yeah.
Point. Like, he doesn't care about the work of it. And so, I think it's interesting because Percy, I don't know, I just don't see Slytherin for him, personally. I don't think ambition alone. And I think it's important to note, too, that most, now I don't know about Ministers of Magic, okay? But out of all the headmasters and headmistresses in Hogwarts history, and Hogwarts has been around for hundreds of years.
Long time.
Reminder, okay? Mm-hmm. There's only been 2 Slytherins. And that's crazy. It was Phineas Nigellus Black
and Severus
Snape. And so ambition doesn't necessarily get you to the spot because you need more than that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to piss some Slytherins off with this discussion. So I think if we were to look at Percy's root cause, I don't think he wanted to be... Now, I think Fred and George thought this is why he was doing it. But Percy wasn't trying to find the heir of Slytherin because he wanted an award for it, because he wanted the prestige of it.
Yeah.
That's not what he was doing.
That's not what he wanted, but that's how Fred and George perceived it.
Yeah, he wanted to do it to save people.
Yeah. To
save his girlfriend, to whatever. Because he's brave. Mm-hmm. He wanted to do it.
Right, period.
And so I feel like he's actually, in a lot of ways, if you look at it, as if the books were Percy Weasley, and I think he's like one of the most Gryffindors there are.
Period.
The only difference is, unfortunately for him, because this is going to sound very brutal, unlike Harry Potter, he was not successful in his countless brave pursuits.
Totally.
And so I think that's why we view him differently.
Totally.
Because a lot of what he was doing is actually very similar to what shit Harry was doing.
Just in a more responsible way, sometimes. Arguably a little less reckless, maybe, sometimes.
I mean, we don't know, right?
We have no idea. That's just
I don't know how he's hunting the heir of Slytherin.
Yeah.
Hunting them at all seems dangerous, so I don't
know. Yeah, I don't know. So
I mean, we could argue that's reckless just to do in general, right? Because you're still a child, whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's the kind of reckless that I think we Gryffindors can take pride in. Mm-hmm. I think we often think reckless is like, it's a negative word, and people mean to throw it at us as a negative word. Mm-hmm. But I think you need people out there.
You definitely need people, because in a way, when I think of reckless, I think of like just quick to act.
Sure. Instead of strategic.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's so interesting because it's like, I feel like I've heard people say the word reckless for even like trying. Mm. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting.
Because I think you can't argue in any way, shape, or form that anyone at Hogwarts had an incentive to find the heir of Slytherin because it's such a dangerous game.
Oh, yeah.
But at least, especially for students, like maybe an adult, like Dumbledore probably had the skills for it not to be truly reckless.
Yeah. And maybe some of the, other professors.
Yeah, other professors, adults, yeah. But for children, I think ultimately, no matter how strategic you are, it is reckless.
It is reckless. It's dangerous.
And yet, it had to be done anyway.
Yeah.
Because if it hadn't been done, Hogwarts would have closed, Jenny would have died, and Lord Voldemort would have returned then. Case closed. We need reckless people.
Yeah.
Because basically what reckless means is you're willing to sacrifice everything.
Yeah, I'm going to look up reckless right now because I'm so intrigued.
Watch me be completely wrong. I'm like philosophizing and it's just like, actually, JK. I'm so curious. Okay, Ray's being so cute though. She tore my arm off at the vet, but now she's just cuddling me like the sweetest thing in the world.
She's like, yeah, what's that?
Yeah, just a cute little guy, huh? Just a cute little guy.
Okay. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, reckless is marked by lack of proper caution, careless of consequences.
Yeah, careless of consequences. I think, who is he putting at risk by looking for the heir Slytherin? Only himself. He's careless of the consequences to himself.
Yeah.
And because I'm not saying like reckless driving is good. No one's saying that.
Obviously.
Do you know what I'm saying?
We're not saying that.
But like, when the consequences are only to yourself, I mean, we do need people to be out there and do the brave things. And sometimes they're going to die doing it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow.
I've been really in my like reclaiming Gryffindorism for the past few years era.
Yes, yeah.
I feel like people just trash on us too much. I'm tired of it. I've been thinking a lot about it.
I feel like every house kind of has their moment where they get shat on sometimes on the fandom.
It feels like Gryffindor's been it for 4 years. I don't know, maybe it's our turn, but I'm tired of it. It's like, can we stop now?
I mean, as a puff, people are kind of just like, you like food, hee and are kind, and I'm like, okay.
Oh my god, someone said the rudest thing to my face once about puffs.
Shut up, what?
It was crazy. Okay, so ask me after, I'll tell you who it was.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it here.
Yeah.
This person said with their full chest, I said something about puffs. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And they were like, ugh, I wouldn't admit that. And I thought I knew what they were getting at, but I made them say it out loud. I was like, what do you mean? Acted like I was stupid.
Yeah.
And that's what you should always do to people when they say terrible, horrible things out loud, is ask them a question. Make them explain it to you so they can hear it out loud. And they literally said, she literally was like, she's like, puffs don't do anything. Like, why would you admit that you're just like you're just not cool enough to be in any of the other houses? That's so embarrassing for you.
That's so embarrassing for them.
It was so awkward. And she's an awful human being. It checked out.
Okay.
But, like, I was just like, holy shit, you did not just say that, girlfriend.
Yeah, period. Wow.
And she meant it with her full chest.
That's so awkward.
Full fucking chest.
Friendly reminder for everybody. Rachel's obviously a Gryffindor. And I'm a Hufflepuff.
And we love puffs.
Yeah.
And Gryffindors.
Yeah.
We love everybody.
I love everyone. Yeah, that's wild.
It
dude.
was crazy. Okay.
Okay.
But
so
Percy, I think, is very Gryffindor.
Yeah.
The argument is made that he should be Slytherin just because he has a lot of ambition.
No, I think he's exhibited primarily Gryffindor traits.
Absolutely. But here's what's interesting.
Yeah.
At LeakyCon,
This most recent one.
I actually met the actor that plays Percy Weasley. And, okay, so he wasn't having this conversation with me, but it was the kid in front of me. There was, like, a kid, and he just talked to this kid for, like, I mean, I must have been standing there for 25, 30 minutes. It was crazy. Like, in the line.
Oh, like the line to meet him?
Yeah, but it was like, I was like the last one. Okay, stop. Please don't. Ray thinks my headphone cord is a toy. That's not good. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Little claws. So Percy was talking to this kid in front of me. And this kid was asking, like, some really interesting things. We'll just walk through all of them, even though not everything's relevant to Percy as the character.
Right.
But he was like, this kid was saying how sad they were that, like, certain things had been cut from the Harry Potter movies. And the actor said the most insightful thing I've ever heard. So Chris Rankin was saying, like, well, you have to remember that the stories are Harry Potter and, which is actually where I got the idea for how we looked at Percy. Yeah. He was like, so only things that are relevant to Harry's journey needed to be in the movie. Mm. There's plenty of things that would be fun, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, absolutely. Like the Ghosts Ball.
Could you imagine if we had, like, Harry Potter extended editions?
Let's be fair, that's what they're about to do.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, like, that's about to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I get you. But so, you know, you have a limited amount of time, so you have to choose the things that are relevant to Harry's character development. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously, that's why we don't know a lot of stuff about, like, Percy, per se. And we're having to read through the lines a lot. Mm-hmm. It's because it's not Percy's book. Right? It's just not the book. When he was asked about the house situation, he said, and I think this is interesting, and I do think he's wrong.
Let's go.
Even though it's his character.
Yeah.
So I'm making the argument that I actually think Percy's an incredibly Gryffindor character. Mm-hmm. However, the actor said he believed the Sorting Hat sorted Percy the way he did, knowing that Percy would do, and to be fair, this was quite beautiful, would do the bravest thing a person can do. One day.
Wow.
Which is to admit when you are wrong.
Wow.
Because most people, is what he was saying, would not come back.
Totally.
That act of courage, for most, would be insurmountable. Mm-hmm. And so he said that's why he believes the Sorting Hat placed Percy where he did. Is because the Sorting Hat must have seen that in Percy's future.
That's so beautiful.
That's really beautiful.
Holy shit.
I mean, I do think Percy's a Gryffindor, but it was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh.
I do think there is a lot of courage in what he did.
Totally. Because that's so true. A lot of people would not come back.
No.
Or admit they're wrong. That's hard.
Yeah, and I do hope that, you know, obviously the war changes everyone. I do hope that some of the things with the Weasleys can get better. Mm-hmm. Love shouldn't be as conditional. And I think Wally really had to learn that when the twins opened their joke shop.
Yeah.
You know, like, they had to really push her on her beliefs. And luckily, Molly did get on board. Yeah. And as we all know, that was a painful transition.
Yeah, it was.
And I wouldn't want to be one of those kids going through that.
Yeah, no.
So I'm hoping that as a family they can heal now that he's back.
Totally.
But, like, yeah, I it was quite beautiful. Anyway, so Sorting Hat also kind of sees the future in this world, I guess. It's really cute.
That is so funny. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Apparently, the actor himself is actually a Ravenclaw.
That's funny.
Yeah. So it was kind of an interesting thing to learn as well.
I love that.
He was so nice.
Oh.
It was actually crazy. Like, he talked to me, because I had just asked, like, am I paid to meet him or anything?
Yeah.
I just was like, hey, like, I have this thing that I would like to give him. It was a Prefect badge.
Oh, a Gryffindor one?
Yeah. Because, like, Percy Weasley.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I was like, can I give this to him? Like, it's okay if I can't.
Yeah.
And they were like, we don't care. So, and he really I know he wanted to go get his coffee. So I was like, oh, I don't want to take up your time. I'm just going to give this to you. But then he talked to me for a while and I was like, you might already have one. And he was like, no, I wish. He's like, I love this so much. He was so hyped.
Aww.
It was actually really meaningful.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, he could just be saying that to be nice.
No, but still, if it feels genuine, I feel like...
I felt really genuine. I feel like I've experienced the other kind enough that I'm pretty sure this was genuine. But then he said, I was like, wow, really? You never stole it? Stole one? And he was like, no. He's like, I only stole something once. And he was like, but I got all the way back to the hotel room with it. And then they caught me. And I was like, what? I was like, how did they catch you if you're in the hotel room,
Yeah.
And he was like, well, they called me and they asked if I'd seen the item.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. So I brought it back. He's like, I told on myself. But it was really funny. He was like, actually, they let me keep one thing, though. And he told me this very long story about it. And basically, it was like a pair of shoes that were made to match his suit very exactly when he was at the Ministry of Magic. And he was like, they were from the kind of store like in the UK. He told me the name, but I forgot it immediately. But it's like kind of like a Macy's, I guess, or something. And he was like, so I could have bought them myself for £80. They had like 6 pairs and they're my exact size because like they have to have extra when they're muddy, when they're all the different things. And he was like, so that's the only thing I got. It was so funny. It was so endearing.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But anyway, because I was in this line for so long, I've now had a lot of time to think about Percy Weasley.
Oh, I love that. I love positive celebrity interactions.
I'm really impressed with myself because I'm not good at meeting celebrities.
I know. I'm really proud of you.
I like forget how to talk like normal. To be fair, I get this way in social interactions too.
Yeah.
So I'm already this way.
Mm-hmm.
But the increased pressure.
No, I get that way when I meet like anime voice actors at conventions. Because usually it's like, oh my gosh, I love doing this role, but sometimes I'll see them wear like a fandom shirt for something completely else that like most of the time they're nerds too. So like there was one I met last year and she was wearing a specific fandom necklace that she's not voicing it at all, but she was doing a Let's Play on her YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And so I brought that up and she was like, oh my gosh, you watch my Let's Plays? And that just made it so much better.
Yeah.
But anyways.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
I think I've now gotten a lot better at, but it is hard. Like I think like if you have any element of social anxiety, I know some people are like. Now I'm not saying stalk celebrities, right?
Oh,
Chappelle Roan is right to say that that's weird and not okay.
Yeah, Chappelle Roan having to speak out about that is yikes.
Don't take pictures without being asked. Don't yell at them. Whatever. But like I do think like I've seen a lot of people obviously talking about celebrity culture because of this.
Yes.
And there's been some people who've been like. And we all know people like this, I think. Mm-hmm. Especially people that live in LA or New York City, who will be like, oh, well, I see celebrities all the time, and it's just not a big deal. I saw an insert crazy name, whoever. Like Ryan Gosling, like A-list stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, and I didn't even say a word. And I'm just like, you know what? Fucking good for you, bro.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that some of us don't have crippling social anxiety. Okay? Like, good for you. If someone that I don't expect talks to me out in public, I do kind of sometimes, it can be difficult for me.
Totally.
Like, I think that's an okay thing.
That is okay, yeah.
Some of us,
we are human.
I'm glad that you're just the best of the best socially. Show off.
Pop off, queen.
Pop off, queen. But I did so well with Percy.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah, I did cry, though.
Oh, I mean, I would too.
At the end, because I was just like, well, I don't want to take up more of your time, because I really, like, he'd been there for so much longer. His handler actually told me, she was like, that's just the thing he does. He just talks to people for 5 years.
I love it.
She's like, we actually have to kick him out.
That's so funny.
He's so cute.
I really love that that's the case.
He's so adorable.
Yeah.
But so I really didn't want to take up a lot of his time, though. You know, as a fellow Gryffindor, and that's why he told me I was a Gryffindor. But I was like, okay, well, as your character as a fellow Gryffindor, I just wanted to thank you because I've never interacted with any of the cast members from Harry Potter or anything before. And I certainly wouldn't thank the woman who wrote it, because she's a horrible human being. But I could thank this person.
Yeah, totally.
And so I said, thank you so much for being part of this. Like, I think being a Gryffindor, like, and watching this journey as I grew up helped me know how to survive not having parents.
Totally.
And like going through multiple different homes growing up.
Yeah.
And like I didn't cry, but like tears were in the eyes.
They were coming.
I think when I turned around, some fell, but like when he was no longer seeing me. But like I think he almost cried.
Yeah.
It was like,
gosh.
I had practiced this in my head a million times while waiting to talk to him, and it was crazy how like saying that out loud wasn't as emotional as it was.
Yeah.
Because like I know that's why Harry Potter means a lot to me. He is literally a neglected child, not given basic needs to survive. Okay? I don't need my therapist to tell me that there's a reason I'm trauma bonded to this book series.
Yeah.
But like saying it out loud, I don't know, it just hits you different sometimes.
Oh, totally.
It's like, oh yeah, this
it's
is
like you
like
know
a
it, but
quirky
then when
thing.
you say it out loud, it's like you know.
Especially when you say it in a serious way.
Yeah.
Like not just like when I believe Harry Potter. Like
Yeah. And not just to like, you know, like your homie.
yeah.
You're saying it to somebody who's a part of something that completely changed your life.
Yeah.
Which is always cool.
Yeah.
So way to go.
It was like the closest experience of my life. It's fine. I've peaked now. Some people peak in college, I peaked now. So that's it.
That's the team.
It's never gonna get better.
Oh man. That was awesome.
amazing. So
that was great.
Yeah. I'm excited to do our next one.
Me too. Do you have any FanCorner announcements before we end?
Mini miniatures are out. I don't know what people know, so I'm just gonna say them all.
Yeah, say it all.
The Ducky Who Lived now has a sticker.
Amazing.
I released the rubber ducks that I brought that sold very well at all the shows this year. They are silly as hell.
I love them though. They're so cute. I
released them on the website, so you can now get them if you want. And then probably next week, by the time this podcast is honestly up, the unicorns happiness spells will be out. Maybe the unicorns like not happiness spells, like just unicorns.
Cute.
And then a dragon. So I've been working my ass off. And the advent calendar drops in a month.
Amazing.
In October, the advent calendar comes out.
Okay, slay, dude.
This has been like a weird amount of new products this year.
You've been working your ass off.
I haven't worked my... A bookstore is carrying my book.
Y'all.
What?
We forgot to talk about that.
It was crazy.
Guys, pre-order Rachel's fairy tale.
Yeah, pre-order my fairy tale.
What's the title of it?
It's called The Girl Raised by a Dragon.
It's got the cutest fucking heart. Like, I shit you not.
No, but for real, my illustrator is amazing. So my author handles are all Rachael and Beck on TikTok and Instagram.
R-A-B.
Original. It's fine. I personally defeated the Dark Lord. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But no, so a bookstore, it comes out in March, but a bookstore agreed. Anyway, That's enough talking about me.
Enough yapping.
Yap. Thank you all so much for joining us. As you know, subscribe, comment, share, tweet.
Tell us who we should talk about next.
Yes, definitely do that.
Yeah.
Tell us what characters you want to hear about next. Every other podcast episode will be from this series because deep diving's fun. It's good for the soul.
It is deep diving for the soul.
Even though we go way too long.
Oh boy.
Percy's a small character.
20 of that was us yapping.
So we're yappers. It's fine.
It's fine.
I love us. And we love you.
And we love you.
Our dear audience. Anyway, have a very magical day.
Don't